Alright, hi guys. Hi, how are you doing? And today what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go through the last few sections of this practice paper that we went through in class. Alright, if you have your booklet with you, can you turn open to section G, Comprehension Close? Alright, so as I read through, I'll share with you some of these answers and also maybe some of the answers that you shared in class that are why they are accepted and why they are not accepted. Alright, let's get started. Results of students who sat for the A-level exams last year are the best since the curriculum was revised a decade ago. Among them is Mr. Brandon Lau, who defied or defies the odds to do well. Alright, so in this case, it is accepted for both present tense as well as past tense. Okay, because of the word the odds, so it refers to something that they have to overcome, they have to go against in some sense. That means that there must be a change in their situations. So that's why we use words like defied or defies, or beat the odds, or overcome. Some of you may have written brave the odds. Brave the odds means that you just face it. There might not be any changes to it. In this case, when we use the word defied, beat, or overcome, it means that there's a change in that situation. Alright, let's carry on. Mr. Brandon Lau was just 1 year old when he lost his sense of hearing. He was born with Hirschsprung disease, a condition that affects the large intestines and causes problems with passing stool. While an operation to fix the condition went well, he said the medicine he took after the operation damaged the nerves connected to. So in this case, it's referring to the brain. So therefore, we can either refer to his or the brain. Okay, so this is actually a determiner, or to refer to his or the brain which processes sounds. The loss of hearing. Okay, so in this case, we actually see, we can link it back to 52 here. Sense of hearing, loss of hearing. So this is your clue. So sometimes it's good to read the whole passage as a whole, because sometimes the clues may be before or after the sentences. Loss of hearing meant he had to work doubly hard in school. His efforts paid off last Friday when the 21-year-old former of Millennium Institute, so this is referring to a school. So what do we have in schools? Our student or pupils. Okay, collected his A-level examination results slip. Mr. Lau has scored 5 A's for his A-level subjects, except for B in project work. Okay, so you scored 5 A's for the subjects. Okay, and let's carry on. It was difficult as I had very demanding schoolwork and CCA commitments. So two nouns, and we connect them with this connector and. I make sure that at the end of every day I revised all of my schoolwork. I had to be in my revision. So in revision, there are a few adjectives to describe it. Either diligent, we have to be consistent. Constant in revision, it sounds a little bit awkward. Okay, a better word to use would be consistent. Okay, you have to be thorough in your revision, focused in your revision. Okay, any of these words are accepted. Said Mr. Lau through a sign language interpreter. Okay, so in this case, loss of hearing, so it's a sign language. Studying literature in English was a challenge as it was the only subject for which he experienced problems directly related to his disability. Okay, so English, so referred to as a subject. I had to learn how to read and interpret the moods in poems in order to figure out the underlying messages. Figure out means that there's some ways that you actually try to in order to make out the underlying messages. So if you have used the word make, it's acceptable as well. But if you have used the word find out the underlying messages, it's not really finding out, but it is trying to figure it out instead of just discovering it. Okay, that means that he tries to look through the messages and try to understand it. So we use words like figure out, make out. So it refers to how they have to look carefully in order to make meaning out of it. Okay, carry on to the next page. I had to pay attention to the sounds made when each word was pronounced. Okay, pay attention. So this is actually linked together. And spot a pattern. Initially, I was confounded by this, which is another word for confused. But with practice, I was able to overcome this issue. I was able. So just a simple verb here. He wrote on an electronic board that he uses to communicate with others. He used to talk to others, used to speak with others. Either one of this is accepted. Mr. Lau hopes to learn, or he hopes to study political science. He hopes to take political science. Take is not the best word, but then it is still accepted. Okay, so this is one of the degrees that they can take in the National University of Singapore. So if I say that I studied business, I took business in the university, I studied IT. Okay, so this is where you have learn, study, or take. Okay, I hope to be an advocate for the furthering of legal and social recognition to the disadvantaged in our society, he wrote. Okay, alright, let's move on to section H, synthesis. Okay, one thing I've done in synthesis, and I hope that you do so, is that whenever we are going through the sentences, synthesis and transformation means that there should be some changes. So what I do is that I highlight the verbs or the nouns that I need to change. Then what I do is that I just write a very short, what am I changing from and what am I changing to? Okay, in this case, let's start with 66. Do you know the man standing at the door? Mrs. Lee asked her son. So it says, Mrs. Lee asked her son if he knew the man standing at the door. So in this case, this is reported speech. I need to change from present tense to past tense. If it is past tense, I need to change it to past perfect tense. Okay, so remember in reported speech, we don't just look at the tenses. We look at the pronouns. We also look at the time. Okay, so for example, if they say today, then they'll be referring to that day. If it says this, then we'll have to refer to that. Okay, if it says last night, then we'll say the previous night. Last week, the previous week. Okay, so the time, you need to be mindful of that as well. Okay, remember your pronouns. Sometimes there needs to be some changes. Your tenses, okay, in reported speech. 67. Okay, joining of sentences using connectors. So in this case, Hisham does not do well in his examination. His mother will be disappointed. So I got to start off with one of it. So I cannot just say his mother will be disappointed if Hisham does not do well in his examination. It has to be very clear who it is referring to. So the pronoun, instead of his, I change it to Hisham's mother. Instead of Hisham, I change it to he. So it'll be a good practice in your exam to do this. Whatever you are going to change, be it the tenses or the pronouns or the noun, you highlight it and quickly just write what you're going to change. Okay, so in this case, the answer is Hisham's mother will be disappointed if he does not do well in his examination. Okay, moving on to 68. The award-winning CAM logo was designed by Beverly last year. Oh no, the thunder is gonna rain. Alright, okay, 68. So in this case, this is a active passive voice. You would have received my term 1 and term 2 summary. I've given you many notes regarding active and passive voice. Okay, remember active and passive voice is always just another way of saying the same thing. Okay, don't confuse it with reported speech. So in this case, instead of just focusing on the award-winning CAM logo, we focus on Beverly. The award-winning CAM logo was designed by Beverly last year. Another way of saying it would be Beverly designed the award-winning CAM logo last year. These two sentences, it means the same thing. It's just another way of saying it. So again, I'm going to change the was designed, and because it's focusing on Beverly, she's the doer. So she designed. Okay, in this case, if I have the award-winning CAM logo, this is the receiver. Receiver, that's where we need to put the was designed. Okay. 69. Ben strode through the abandoned house. He was scared. Although something, a condition, what did Ben do? So in this case, we need to start off with Ben, and in this case, we need to change the he to Ben. Okay, because it will sound weird if we say, although he was scared, Ben strode into the abandoned house. Okay, so we just start off with the proper noun here. Although Ben was scared, remember your comma, he strode into the abandoned house. Pretty straightforward. Question 70. The people of Egypt were in awe of Cleopatra. Cleopatra is beautiful. Okay, it's a change of the word class. So the people of Egypt were in awe of Cleopatra because of her beautiful. We change it to beauty. Okay, so this is an adjective to a noun. Alright, so a change in the word class. Okay, so you look through again, every single one, whatever I need to change, I just quickly note it above. That's my way of checking. And as well, when you are reading through, make sure that you match the words. Strode, into. Don't miss out the words. There's a difference when you say strode into abandoned house and strode into the abandoned house. Don't miss out words like this, okay? Check through every sentence carefully. Okay, moving on to the last one, the comprehension. Okay, before we continue with this, I want you to do one very quick exercise. Or some of you may have already started doing this. If you have not, I'll advise you to just pause this video and do this simple exercise. What you do is that, in class, when we go through comprehension close, as I read through every paragraph, I ask you to summarize it. I ask you to give me what's the main idea of it. So we do this very quick exercise. If you have not done so, what you do is that you reread this entire comprehension passage again. And what I want you to do is that for every single paragraph, okay, I want you to just quickly write 3 words. You see what I've done here for this first paragraph? Space mission, human body, swollen. Or rather, not just 3 words. Sometimes it can be 3 phrases. Phrases means that about 2 to 3 words. So just keep it to 2 words. What you want to do is that every paragraph, write down the 3 key ideas. Okay, in this case, after I read through this, after nearly a year in space, he went back to Earth, one step closer to one day sending astronauts to Mars, and how human body adapts, swollen legs and arms. So here, in 3 phrases or words, what I say that space mission, human body, swollen. Okay, you may have different words compared to mine, but that doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong. But the main thing is that you capture the keywords and the main idea of each paragraph. Okay, this will help you to understand each paragraph better. Okay, so if you have not done so, do this for every single paragraph. Do this as a good practice because this checks your understanding. It forces you to read the passage as a whole and the sentences carefully. Alright, let's pause for a while. Okay, if you have done so, let's continue. Okay, are you ready? Let's see what you have for every single paragraph. I'm not going to read through this entirely, but I'm just going to highlight the main idea for each paragraph. That means that I'm going to share with you my 3 keywords. Hopefully you have gotten at least 1 or 2, or maybe sometimes you may even have the 3 same words as me. Alright? Okay, so for first paragraph, space mission, human body, and swollen, and face puffier. So this is the main idea. Scott was doing this. Second paragraph. Okay, I've written twin, taller, and a longer time. Okay, longer. So this main paragraph here is about him having a twin. Okay, so there's something that they can compare. NASA can compare. Alright, versus he and his, I assume this will be his brother. Okay, so a key difference, he was taller and he spent a longer time. Second paragraph. Have you gotten something like this? Okay, let's move on. Oh, you realize that I've highlighted stuff as well. This is what I do is that as I'm reading through, I find that, hey, this is the important main idea of this paragraph. I just highlight this first. Okay, and you see the underlined words. This I'll explain to you what this is about. Okay, third paragraph. Okay, I've written fun, personal mission, inspire. Okay, so this is what he did. He had fun. It was his personal mission, and to inspire the next generation. Next paragraph, I've written job, excitement, social media. So part of his job, he wanted to get people excited. Okay, and of course he did so by posting images on social media. Next paragraph, I've written walk. What is this? Saw. Okay, and privilege. Okay, so in this case, his legs were sore because of spending a year in zero gravity, and he find that it is a privilege, okay, to fly in space and represent the country. Next paragraph, I've written compassionate, challenging, and about water. Okay, so he find that compared then and now, he's more compassionate. He finds challenging living in space. And there's this thing about water, about personal hygiene. Maybe you have chosen the word personal hygiene. Okay? And actually, another key idea is also being away from friends and family. Alright, hopefully you have read through this entire passage. I'm not going to read it out for you. But do you find that as you highlight the 2 to 3 words and phrases for each paragraph, it helps you understand the passage much better? Alright, okay, without further ado, let's continue to the questions. What I do is that for every single question, I highlight the keywords. What is the question asking me? Okay, and sometimes I even circle to remind myself that this is in the past tense, that the answer needs to be in complete sentences and it needs to be in the correct tense. Okay, 71. What were the 2 objectives? I highlighted 2 objectives of the experiment when NASA sent Scott to space. So 2 objectives, why go to space? So my answer is in line 3 and 4. Okay, you can flip over to line 3 and 4. 2 things, my underlined words are the main key points. Okay, so if you have gotten these 2 points, that means that you have gotten the 2 marks for this question. Find out how the human body adapts to harsh conditions and prepare astronauts for a trip to Mars. Okay, so the key idea is prepare astronauts for Mars, or prepare to go to Mars, closer to Mars, or you can say how the human body adapts to harsh conditions. Okay, line 3 and 4. Now, remember I mentioned to you about the underlining of the words? So what I do is that I underline my answers. I may have highlighted different things, but I'll underline them so that it's easier for me to flip to the previous page to copy down some of the answers. Sometimes I may need to change the words a little bit slightly. As you have seen, one step closer to one day sending astronauts to Mars. Okay, so that is how I say, okay, to prepare astronauts for Mars. Okay, so 72, 3 physical changes. The main thing is physical, so it means that it's things that affects his body, okay, in space. So in line 6, 7 and 11, first one, he had swollen legs and arms. His face grew puffier and he grew taller. Okay, let's go back to 6 and 7. Did any of you mention about frequent insomnia? If you did, that is not correct. Alright, why? Because it is physical changes. Does he experience this physical change in his body? No, this is about sleeping. Okay, so this is not really related to the physical change. That means your hand grow longer or something along that line. Okay, this is about his behavior. If I say behavior changes, then I'll say, okay, sleeping may be a problem. Okay, but I say physical changes means that something that change to your body physically. Okay, 73. What does the phrase Scott came with a huge bonus refer to? I underline refer to because my answer needs to mention it refers to something. Okay, in this case it is his twin or astronaut mark. If you have just written it refers to his twin, you still get a mark. Okay, but if I want to be very clear, I say his twin astronaut mark, or some of you may have written it refers to Mark. Okay, I would think that is fine as well, but you would want to be as detailed as possible, so in this case it's his twin Mark. Okay, that is the first mark first mark. Okay, this is the how you get the first mark. And then the second part, how did that benefit NASA? Okay, NASA could study how the time in space impacted Scott physically. So this is in line 9. So one of Scott is in space, Mark is on Earth. So after 1 year, they bring the two of them together and they compare. So they could study how spending time in space impacted Scott physically. The answer is in line 9. Line 74. Okay, so what does the word it and them refers to? So whenever we have this kind of question, it refers to definitely something or someone. Okay, repeat after me, something or someone. Alright, so in this case, it cannot be a verb, it would definitely be a noun. So in this case, it in line 11, we read through paragraph 1, that's why I wrote P1, is referring to the space trip or the space travel. Okay, and referring to them in line 19, and you look earlier, I think it's in line 16. Yes, next generation of space pioneer, get them excited. So you see how I have to read the previous sentence. This is my clue. Okay, so the next generation of space pioneers. Okay, if you've just written the next generation, that's not very clear. Next generation of what? Space pioneers. Okay, so these are the two, space trip or space travel. Either one is acceptable. 75, true or false answers. Okay, so in this case, remember, I've already mentioned this in our comprehension exercises. When it's true, you tell me why true, what made you say so. Okay, and when it's false, which part is false? So what I do is that I highlight the part that is false, and then of course I make sure that when I corrected it, I give the reason to write what was false. Okay, so in this case, the first statement, Scott said that the most challenging part of the space experience was that having no running water that affected his personal hygiene. We look at line 35. That is false. Okay, although it did mention that it affected him, but that is not the most challenging. Okay, line 35, you can see that it says here, however, that was not the worst. So there was something even that affected him even a lot more. Okay, so in this case, I would correct this by saying the most challenging part, you see I copied this over, was being away from friends and family for a long time. So this is the reason. Okay, why is it false? It's because the most challenging part was not this part, but rather being away from friends and family. Next statement, Scott could not see well, so it's referring to line 24. Go and read line 24. It is true. So now you got to look for the sentence, or you got to tell me why is this true. Okay, what made you say so from the text? In this case, the text tells us his eyesight got better since he returned. So it means that in space, before he returned, it was bad. Okay, he was affected. 76. According to Scott, why did he float around in a gorilla costume? So this is in line 16 again. 2 reasons, 2 marks. Okay, he wanted to have fun, that's one, and to inspire the next generation of space pioneers. Okay, very clear cut, line 16. Next page, last page. Okay, choose words from line 31 to 39. Excuse me. Which have similar meanings to the words below. Okay, so what I do is that I look through these few sentences, then I look for words that means the same thing. Wealthy in line 33, affluence. Okay, second sentence, difficult. Line 34, there is the word complicated. Okay, or you can also use the word challenging. It means the same thing in line 32. Okay, and a third, a word separated, you look at line 37, is the word detached, or some of you may have chosen from a line 33 or 35, is the word away. Any of these two is fine. Alright, it means the same thing. 78, write the sentence that tells you that Scott has shared the beauty in space on the web. So on the internet, so in this case it's from line 21. He also posted more than 700 stunning images on the social media. Okay, the key thing is social media. So make sure that you copy the sentence word for word. Make sure you check through. Don't miss out one word. Don't misspell one word, because you misspell one word, you lose the entire 1 mark. Okay? So copy, make sure you copy properly. That's what I always remind all of you. Okay, 79. How has it changed his character? Change his character. This is in line 31. He is more compassionate now. Okay? So the important thing is to mention about compassionate. Okay? It's not asking about how it has changed him physically, but changed his character. That means how he is as a person. Okay? 80. Scott said it was a privilege to be an astronaut, and lists 2 reasons. What are the 2 privileges? It's in line 28. Not many could proclaim they have flown in space. That's 1. And he also mentioned it was an honor to represent his country in an important task. So these are the 2 things, that 2 reasons why he says so, in this line 28. Okay, so hopefully as you go through this, let's just summarize what I've done in this comprehension passage. For every paragraph, I write down at least a few keywords or key phrases to help me understand each paragraph. Then what I do is that I also highlight along the way, I feel the important information to help me understand each paragraph. And then when I go through the questions, I highlight what the questions are asking for. And then when I look for it in the passage, I always refer to, do you see that I always write line, this, and all this. This is my way of checking. This may be a good practice for you if, let's say, you're fast in completing your work and you want to do your own checking, or along the way you find that this is helpful for you to refer to where you find the answers. Alright, and what I do is that in the passage, I go and underline my answers, so that I make sure that whenever I'm checking, I make sure that I have all these keywords and key phrases in my answers as well. Alright, so make sure that as you read through, you understand what each paragraph is asking you. In the questions, make sure that you know what each question is asking you, the keywords is asking. Okay, so you see things like physical changes, it's not just any kind of changes. Okay, how it benefit NASA. True or false questions, make sure that when it's false, which part is false, you correct it in the reason box. If it's true, what supports your answer? Why you say that it's true? Okay? And of course, words with similar meanings, just look for the word itself and just copy the words that have the same meaning. You should be able to substitute the word 1 for 1. That means if the sentence says that they are wealthy, I'm able to substitute the word they are affluent. Means the same thing. Okay. Alright, that's all for this comprehension passage, and of course the last few sections of this paper. Okay. One last thing is that I've already informed your parents that on MC Online we have posted a couple more practices. If you find that that's useful for you, go on to MC Online, try out some of these practices. These practices, at the end of the practice, you'll be able to get the answers immediately, so you know whether how many you have gotten correct, how many you have gotten wrong. Alright? Okay, all the best for you for this coming examination. Make sure that you have plenty of rest, drink lots of water, and have a fruitful time this weekend. Alright? I'll see you around Monday. Take care, bye.